Okay, welcome everybody. This is the review for Martes de Prueba number 3, English section. I'm going to start sharing so we can focus on this specific section. So this is the English section of Martes de Prueba number 3. So the instruction is to read the text. We need to be very careful because the information that we are going to read is the information that we're going to need for answering questions 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. Oh, 24, not 24. So over here, we're going to start reading the text. In 1812, a 3-year-old boy was playing in his father's leather workshop when he had an accident that would change the world. Louis Braille accidentally poked himself in the eye with an owl. The metal point blinded him in one eye, and an infection soon left him totally blind. Louis won a scholarship to a school for the blind in Paris. It was not a nice place. Students were often fed bread and water and locked up for punishment. There, Louis and the other blind children were taught to read. At that time, books for the blind weighed 100 pounds. One day, a soldier visited the school and talked about a code system that he had invented in the French army. It used raised dots and dashes on a piece of paper to allow soldiers to send messages in the dark while remaining silent. The children found the system too confusing, but the basic idea stuck in Louis' head. He began experimenting with different ways of creating a language using raised dots on paper. One day, Louis picked up a pair of dice and felt the 6 dots on one side. That's when inspiration struck him. He soon developed a code for each letter of the alphabet, all using no more than 6 dots. One great advantage of his system was that you could read each letter. With practice, a reader could run his finger along a line and read very quickly. It took many years for the Braille system to take off, and its popularity was still spreading when Louis died in 1852. Okay, so this is information that is given to us. Now we're going to focus on the questions and possible correct answers. Question number 1, it says, why did Louis Braille get completely blind if he hurt only one eye? Okay, so the options are A, because the injury was so deep that finally infected the other eye. That is option A. It sounds coherent, but let's analyze the other two options. B, because as soon as a consequence of the accident, his healthy eye got infected. So this one is more specific, okay? Because as a consequence of the accident, over here, this one sounds closer to the information that was provided. Let's see number C. Let's see C. Because they all damaged the right eye and later affected the left eye. We can cancel C because the accident happened in one eye and then the all was no longer in the eye. So we can cancel C. What about A and B? In A, they mentioned that it was too deep in the possible answer, but in the text they don't talk about how deep was the injury. We will choose B because they mentioned the infection, as they also mentioned in the text. Let's continue with question 22. How old was Louis Braille when he got completely blind? First, in A, they say he was 3 years old. In B, he was just a newborn. In C, it happened in 1812. Over here, when we go back to the text, it says, in 1812, he was a 3-year-old. So, question, sorry, the question is not answered with C. Why? Because the C is answering a different question, like when it happened. And the question here is how old was Louis? So even though it happened when he was 3 years old and it was in 1812, C is not a possible good answer. Over here, we can cancel also B because they mentioned that he was a newborn. So the only remaining possible good answer will be A when they say he was 3 years old. Now let's explore question 3 and the possible answers. It says, besides his health problems caused by the accident, what other circumstances made Louis' life harder? A. The treatment he and the other boys received at school. In the text, they mentioned that he was very poor. B. It was too easy to understand the soldiers' code. So this one is not very coherent because when something is too easy, right, that is not, that is the opposite of hard. So over here is not very coherent. And C, it was difficult for him to read because he was blind. So this answer, right, this answer is not really, and this answer is not strictly directed to the question. Let's see the question again. Besides his health problems caused by the accident, what other circumstances? So the health problems caused by the accident was his blindness, right? So over here, we're talking about besides. So besides is apart from the situation. So this one would be the correct answer. A. A will be the correct answer because they mentioned over here, right, that it was not a nice place and the kind of treatment that they received. So over here, we can find this answer suggested. We continue with 24 from this text and a 25 question that is besides the text. 24. 24 says, why was Louis Braille able to invent the Braille system? Options. A, because first he felt the dots of the dice, and later he learned the soldier's code. This information is not really given like exactly as it is presented in A, so I wouldn't go for this one. Let's see the other two options before we decide. B, because he was a brilliant boy who wanted to invent a reading system for the blind. So over here, we're talking about, remember, able, capability, not his intentions. So the reason why he finally could do it, that is the question. C, because the soldier's code was confusing, but he used the idea using the dice dots. I will incline to suggest that the correct answer is C, because it's answering the question, why he was finally capable to solve that problem. So A will be canceled because it says, because first he felt the dots of the dice, and later he learned the soldier's code. They never mentioned if he finally learned the code. They mentioned that that gave him an idea. But after was the situation with the dots of the dice. So also the order would be the opposite. First, he learned about the code, and then he got the idea from the dice. So that is why C would be the correct answer. Now over here, we go back to a previous exercise that we had in other test, in which we need to decide about a label. The question is, we're talking about 25. The question is, where would you find a specific label? And the options are over here. First, A, in an airport, B, in a hospital, and C, in an office. And we're talking about arrivals, okay? So arrivals are, in this case, the correct answer will be A. Arrivals are those planes that are arriving to an airport. So normally in an airport, you're going to find like a board, electronic normally, in which departures, the airplanes leaving the city, leaving the airport, and on the other side, the airplanes arriving. So that is why they are called arrivals. And with this, we will be finishing this review and this feedback from Martes de Prueba number 3 on the section of the English abilities, in this case, reading comprehension. Thank you very much for your attention. Continue practicing. See you in other occasions.